Good morning, and thank you for joining me. It is Monday, December 1st, 2025. This is the 335th day of the year, and we are carefully tracking a winter storm that is currently impacting Omaha, Lincoln, and down to Kansas City. This system is moving toward Iowa, Springfield, Illinois, Indianapolis, and perhaps even reaching a little bit of Cincinnati and Columbus. You folks are certainly going to see some snow from this, but at this moment, it is causing considerable trouble over in the Kansas City area. I have been watching the traffic cameras, and it is a very difficult scene this morning in Kansas City. This system is moving to the east right now. Let us take a look at what the radar might look like as we move forward into the day. This is a projection for approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is when the area around St. Louis will begin to see snow. Springfield, up to Bloomington and Chicago, you will likely start seeing some snow around that time as well. The most significant snowfall will be in northern Missouri, perhaps up toward Davenport, and it will begin to taper off in Kansas City around this time. Additionally, we will be seeing some frozen precipitation farther south, possibly around Springfield, Joplin, and down toward Little Rock, where we have a bit of an ice threat today that we will discuss in more detail here in just a moment. But let us push this forecast further into the evening and look at 8 o'clock tonight. That is when the heaviest snow is expected in St. Louis. That is also when we will see some snow on the backside of the system hitting Springfield, Missouri. It is when the snow will really begin to pick up in Indianapolis, and we are going to be watching a delicate balance here in Louisville, Kentucky, between rain and snow. It will be the same situation in Cincinnati. However, if you do transition completely to snow, for instance, down in Poplar Bluff or Seneth, and up along the Ohio River, whenever that changeover occurs, it is likely to be a heavy, wet snow that falls for a brief period. But it certainly appears that the most impactful snow, with the longest duration, is going to occur just to the north of that line, in places like Indianapolis up toward Columbus. And yes, Chicago over to Detroit, you folks will be affected once again by this fast-moving system. Then, as we head into 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, we could potentially see some heavy snow over in Louisville. Even down in Nashville, Tennessee, you all could get a very quick dusting of snow on the back edge of this system as it exits tomorrow morning. Over here in my part of the country, in eastern Kentucky, it looks as though it will be mostly rain for the majority of the event, but we are also going to get some snow on the backside of the system. Cleveland and Columbus, you will be receiving some heavy snow at this time. And then, as this system moves across the Appalachian Mountains and up toward the northeast, the storm system actually intensifies somewhat. You can see that we have some strong storm development over the ocean here. All of this moisture is being lifted up into the colder side of the storm. We have heavy rain along the Interstate 95 corridor between Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and New York up toward Boston, and we also have heavy snow just inland from there. So, wherever that rain-snow line establishes itself, if you are on the snow side of that line, you are going to experience very heavy snowfall as we go into your day tomorrow. This is 11 o'clock in the morning. This is noon. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we could be seeing very heavy snow in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, up toward Binghamton and Albany, New York, and then of course up here in the Berkshires, and the White and Green Mountains, and the Poconos. I believe all of these areas are going to be impacted quite significantly by snow. Even up there into Maine, you are going to see some very heavy bands of snow with this system, and then it should all be over by 5 o'clock in the morning on December 3rd. We will just have some leftover flurries as the storm finally moves out of our area. So, allow me to zoom out a little bit here and show you the full progression once again. Please find your location on the map, and then just watch as this system unfolds. It is a hard-hitting storm, make no mistake, but it is moving very quickly. And for that reason, it does not appear that we will see extremely high snow totals from this event. This is not expected to be as significant of a winter storm, particularly here in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, as the last one we experienced. But even on the lower end of the estimates, and I want to emphasize that this is a rather conservative forecast, we are looking at the national blend of models. There will definitely be some locations that receive more snow than this projection shows. But to keep our expectations realistic on the low end, I think we could see 3 inches of snow up here in northern Missouri. We could see 3 inches of snow in Kansas City by the time this is all finished. And then up here around Chicago, I believe we could see 3 inches of snow. It would not surprise me if a couple of places received 4 inches. 2 or 3 inches will be possible in Indianapolis. Even down here toward Louisville, Kentucky, I think we could receive 2 inches of snow. 2 to 3 inches will be possible in Cincinnati as well. Over here in Columbus, you folks could see 2 or 3 inches. And then once we get up toward Cleveland, we can start to talk about perhaps 2 to 4, or even 3 to 6 inches of snow. The entire state of Pennsylvania, especially in the higher elevations, is going to be a good candidate for 3 to 6 inches of snow, with the exception of down here around Philadelphia, where it looks to be a mostly rain event for you. In upstate New York, north of Albany, we are talking about 7, 8, or even 9 inches of snow being possible here. And please remember, this is on the conservative side. There are going to be many places that likely end up with around a foot of snow by the time this is all said and done in the Northeast. The bullseye for this event is northwest of the Interstate 95 corridor, stretching from the Poconos of Pennsylvania up through the Catskills, the Berkshires in Massachusetts, and up through Maine. This is the area where I believe we could get a solid 8 to 12 inches of snow. This is not for the immediate coast, but for the interior Northeast. That region will see the most from this storm. Now, just south of the snow line in a couple of areas, we will be talking about ice, and we are about to explore that in much greater detail. But first, let's take a moment to thank today's wonderful sponsor, Factor Meals. They make healthy eating simple. Now, if you are anything like me, when severe weather starts to approach, you already have a plan in place for what you are going to do, because you approach it not with fear, but with preparation. When it comes to dinner time, however, I do not know about you, but I often have no plan at all, and a lot of times, I end up just improvising. And that is not always the best option for your budget or for your health, but that is where today's sponsor can help. Factor meals are fresh, never frozen, and they are ready in just 2 minutes. Factor meals are nutritious and tailored to a wide variety of health goals, with options like high protein and calorie smart, and gluten-free choices that are free from low-quality seed oils and refined sugars. And now, Factor has even more to choose from. They have doubled the size of their menu to over 80 rotating weekly meals, with 3 times more new chef-crafted options than before. And not only that, but now they have more variety than ever, with things like salmon and shrimp, and new high-protein options like beef fillets, turkey, and meatballs. So, what are you waiting for? Please head on over to factor75.com, click the link at the top of the description, and use the code HALLYALLFB50 for 50% off your first order, plus free breakfast for a year. That is HALLYALLFB50 at factor75.com, with the link at the top of the description, and you will receive 50% off your first order plus free breakfast for an entire year. A huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. We truly appreciate Factor. A lot of you folks do too. If you have not tried it yet, I sincerely recommend you do. The link is at the top of the description. Now, let us get back to the weather. So, let's go take a conservative look at how much ice we could see. And you can see there is a clear bullseye here in the Appalachian Mountains, in the south-central Appalachians. We are talking about maybe up to 1/4 of an inch of ice as we go into the day tomorrow. We are specifically looking at the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Shenandoah Valley, extending from western North Carolina up through western Virginia and Maryland, with the bullseye appearing to be right on the border of Virginia and West Virginia here. I think there will be a lot of places that get more than 1/4 of an inch of ice in a short amount of time. That ice is going to accumulate on tree limbs and power lines, and it will cause some power problems. Now, we also have some ice concerns back here in Arkansas that will be unfolding today, right now as you are watching this. I believe this will be a little less impactful than what we expect in the Appalachian Mountains, but it will still be a significant amount of ice. And you know, please do not let a glaze of ice make you think that it will not be impactful. That amount is enough to cause accidents on the roadways. It is enough to cause some intermittent power problems as well, so please keep that in mind. Now, believe it or not, south of the ice, we have rain, and then south of that, we actually have a slight risk of severe weather. We have a marginal risk of severe weather from Mobile, Alabama, down to Apalachicola, and Florida. We have a very slight overnight tornado threat down in this area. I want to highlight the region along Interstate 10. If you are in Pensacola or Panama City, please make sure you have a way to receive weather alerts tonight, because I do think there is a very small chance of some strong storms moving through here. Let us go back to that future radar. And while Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis, and Detroit are getting impacted by some heavy bands of snow, we are going to have some supercells trying to form down here over the Gulf. And those are going to slowly drift up toward the coast of Florida. These will certainly be capable of causing various problems, such as waterspouts. And then, as they make landfall, they are going to try to continue to produce tornadoes. This will be an isolated threat, and unfortunately, it looks as though it will be happening from around midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning. So, that is right when you are sleeping. Please, make sure you have a way of getting alerts down there. And then the big story after that is going to be the cold air. Look at this giant lobe of very cold air that will be coming in after the storm passes by. It is going to open the gates from the North Pole, quite literally, for Arctic cold air to come down into the upper Midwest, the northern plains, and the Great Lakes region. We're seeing 40 degrees below average over here in northwestern Iowa, around Fort Dodge. This is going to be some of the coldest air we have had in a while, and it appears it will be sticking around for some time. It is going to make its way down to St. Louis, Kansas City, and Chicago as well. These are going to be some truly cold nights. And notice how it even gets over there into the northeast a little bit as we head toward the weekend. What do these temperatures actually look like? Well, on Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock, we are going to be in the teens in Lexington, Kentucky. We are going to be around 20 degrees in Indianapolis. But this is not the real cold. Watch that big, giant lobe of cold air come down into the upper Midwest. And on Thursday morning, please note, this is not the wind chill. This is the actual air temperature. It is going to be 20 degrees below zero in Fort Dodge. That is dangerously cold. That is life-threatening cold up there, even for you folks that are. Now, for those of you accustomed to chilly weather, please be advised that temperatures could potentially drop to negative 10 degrees in Minneapolis and St. Paul. A considerable portion of North and South Dakota will experience temperatures 10 degrees below the seasonal average, with several locations possibly approaching 20 degrees below what is typical. It is very important to keep this in mind, as this is a life-threatening cold that is expected to remain with us for at least a couple of days. We will need to endure these conditions for some time before we see any relief. And while the cold may not remain at life-threatening levels for the entire period, the next 10 days will continue to be colder than average across the Great Lakes region, extending into the northeast. In fact, nearly the entire eastern half of our country, with the exception of Florida, will feel this chill. Meanwhile, we will continue to observe a large ridge of high pressure building in the west, bringing with it much warmer than average temperatures. This warmth will be felt from San Francisco all the way up to Seattle and over to Salt Lake City. This is the persistent weather pattern we find ourselves in, and at this time, it does not appear that it will be changing in the immediate future. This pattern will continue to create opportunities for snowfall. While our focus remains on the current storm, I do want to let you know that in my next update, we will discuss the potential for another significant snowstorm for the areas east of the Rocky Mountains. That concludes the main weather forecast I have prepared for you today. If you have found this information helpful, I would certainly appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on your notifications as well, as that will alert you if we decide to provide a live update. However, should I be unable to go live for this storm, I want to recommend a wonderful resource called YaBot, which is doing an excellent job. I see there are about 1,000 people watching it right now as it relays important information regarding road closures. That channel is also providing views from traffic cameras and other very useful updates. You can find it by searching for YBA on YouTube. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Until we speak again, please stay safe and be well. I look forward to our next update.